Like Colin, when he came in with Zip Theatre, they were, stalwarts of the Low Hill community at that time, back in the 1980s. Their annual pantomime, which they did every year at Low Hill Community Centre. I arrived in October 77, and it was the first year that all the young people on Low Hill had not got a job. And the 16 and the 17-year-olds were having real difficulty in understanding why there was no jobs for them. Because their elder brothers and their elder sisters had always got jobs. They'd all left school at 16, gone straight into a job, either as an apprentice or as a labourer. There was always plenty of jobs for people in Low Hill. If you look back at the history of Low Hill, there was manufacturing jobs on Park Lane, there was Henry Meadows, there was Guy Motors, there was the Everready. On the estate itself, there was the Britool, which was another, engineering place. Then there was Goodyear's, of course, which employed thousands. And if you went further over into Oxley, you had Lucas, Doughty Paul, and several other, and they were all big employers. A friend of mine who subsequently became the MP for the area, he was a tool maker when he started out. And he said to me one day, he said, there was never any problem with jobs in Low Hill. His mum and dad lived on Allen Avenue, by the way, which was just by...
Who's this, by the way? Is it Ken Purchase? Yeah.
And his mum and dad lived just off Shoal Circus. And he said there was never any problems. He says we could fall out with the foreman on Friday morning, have a barney with him at lunchtime, walk down the street into the next factory and start on the Monday morning. Well, the estate brought a lot of people, through the trade union movement into politics. Sort of because they were big engineering employers, the unions were strong, and a lot of the people who were involved in the unions subsequently became involved in politics. So, for instance, former MP Ken Purchase came off Low Hill. Lots and lots of councillors were Low Hill people. I'm talking about back in the 70s and 80s. Still quite a few of them today. One of the things that's often said is that the rich keep diaries and keep journals, and so
those are the voices we hear. Yeah,
they're the voices you hear. Working class people don't tend to do that, so you do need to talk to them. To get their historical perspective. And there's a book that we published, which is based on the history of Low Hill, called Peaches, Lions and Heroes. And the Peaches relate to Low Hill House, which was a big stately home that was on the estate that was demolished when the estate was built. And it had a walled garden where they grew peaches. The local authority now are trying to build houses on these backlands. One called, part of Low Hill called the Magic Garden, where just last week they announced they're putting 8 houses. Well, historically, they were the gardens. If you go back far enough, to when the houses were built, they were the back gardens of the houses, and they became, surplus. And then they were taken over by the community for a number of years as a sort of community sort of situation.